Hello, welcome to No One Asked Us, because literally no one asked us to do this. We're just doing it by ourselves. I'm Craig Choate. That is Logan Lee. Logan, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
You said it. I'm Logan Lee. What else do you need to know? The Logan Lee, the one and only.
Logan Lee.
Just a tweeter that loves to talk about movies and sports. So I'm happy to be here. Happy to do this. You and I go way back, and just a good opportunity to get on here a couple of times or once a week and just talk about the stuff we're always texting about anyway. So
yeah,
let's just put it out there for the world to listen to.
Unload our minds a little bit. We've been talking about doing this for quite a while, actually, right?
We have. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I think the pandemic kind of shifted some things around and made it a little more possible for us to do it. So
yeah, I got a new job. I used to work in TV in the sports and news business. I was with it for 8 years, and then I got out in May, and I was like, I still want to be involved. I don't know what. And then the non-TV normal life kind of latched on, and I got real lazy, especially working from home. But now there's a lot going on. A lot of sports are coming back amidst the pandemic, and I wanted to kind of unload the thoughts, like you said. And me and Logan went to college together. That's where we first met, SIU Carbondale. He went to Go Dogs. Didn't look good yesterday, but
no.
We won't talk about that. That's where we met. We both went to radio TV school in Carbondale, and we have a lot of the same interests. So we feel like this is going to be a good pairing. Logan kind of hit on it, what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of sports. Logan's big movie buff, the biggest movie buff I know. So he's going to talk about some of his movies.
Hold on.
And we're just kind of going to talk. So what do you think about it, Logan?
I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, as you kind of talked about your background with, working at a TV station for a while. And, I was working for a baseball team for a while, and we both kind of shifted gears, during the pandemic over the summer and that type stuff. So it gives us both an opportunity to kind of stay in that lane a little bit. And it helps that we both have a college basketball team that we follow pretty closely that, for the first time in about 15 years is actually looking like a team that can contend in March. So that definitely helps to kind of springboard this whole thing.
Yeah, we're both born and raised in Illinois. Logan has moved. He's left the state borders. I'm still here. I grew up in Southern Illinois, and that about 2001 or 2002 Illinois team with Brian Cook really got me hooked with the Illini back then. And then, of course, they go on the 2005 run right when I'm in the middle of my high school basketball career. So the short-lived high school basketball career. And that got me hooked with Illinois. And then I was lucky enough to cover the program for 5 years. Logan's been invested as a fan his whole life, being from Oakwood.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I got nothing to say about that. No. Yeah. I mean, I grew up 30 minutes from Champaign. So, everybody, I hear people all the time had, their NBA teams and whatnot. But I mean, we were going to the Assembly Hall, a couple times a month, and watched a lot of Illinois basketball. So that's really what I grew up on. And as you talked about, those teams in the early 2000s, that's where I got hooked on it too. And those are some fun teams to watch. So it's definitely been a rough stretch since then. But until now, things have turned the corner.
Yeah. Those teams definitely got a lot of people in the state, specifically this area, Central Illinois area, hooked on Illinois. And then I got a different perspective for those 5 years because I wasn't in the program, but I was more in the program than a lot of fans. So I got to see some of the intricacies of how it works and what they go through. And I mean, it's tough to keep a program where at the level they were in those early 2000s. So we saw a lot of good, we saw a lot of bad. So you're going to get a lot of Illinois basketball, at least for the next month. And then Logan's a Cub fan, worked in the Cubs minor league organization. I'm a Cardinal fan. I like to think I'm pretty reasonable. I'm not very biased.
Are you really?
I can see both sides.
Okay.
I can see both sides. I'm not a Cub hater.
I can as well.
I am confused by their moves, but we will talk about that eventually. So I think we both respect the other organization enough to talk unbiasedly about it. Right. And if the Cubs do something well, I'll admit to it. So you get a lot of baseball for sure. We'll talk a little bit today because spring training is close to getting underway, but we're just kind of going to unload here. So let's jump right in. We got a good start to talk about with Illinois drubbing Minnesota yesterday. Logan, how much of the game did you watch? I did not get a chance to watch much of it.
I was watching it the entire time. There were parts during the second half when they were up 30 that I probably wasn't paying as much attention to as I have throughout the rest of the season. But that was definitely one of the most entertaining basketball games I've seen Illinois play in a long time. It was not close by the end, but just from a pure entertainment standpoint, some of the passes that Curbelo was making, and I don't know how many dunks they had. I mean, they're just lobbing the ball to whoever they can find it, and it was definitely fun to watch. I wish they could have used a little bit of that the last two games, because having Nebraska take them to overtime and needing everything they could out of Ayo to get past Northwestern probably wasn't the way I wanted to see those games go. But I'll take it.
Yeah.
They look really good against Minnesota, and they're going to need that energy because this last stretch is going to be tough.
Oh, it's brutal.
It's going to be tough. So
I think one home game left. Everything else on the road.
Correct.
And the road games are Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, holy cow.
That's how you close it out, man.
I mean, if they, what is there? Is there 5 or 6 games left?
I was thinking 5, but it might
5.
be 6.
So if they get 3 of those 5, you got to be happy, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I would, I was thinking about that. I was looking at the schedule because they changed everything. It's very fluid this year, as everybody knows. But when I saw that they had finally, added the Michigan game, I was taking a look at the schedule, and that's just those last 3 games, as you mentioned, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio State. Like that's about as tough as it gets in the conference. So you're really going to find out what this team's made of during that stretch. So definitely looking forward to that. But they got a lot to prove still, I think.
I mean, that game yesterday was exactly what they needed to, because like you said, they never should have been in those situations against Northwestern and Nebraska. And thank God Ayo is who he is and can pull out the magic that he has pulled out this year and throughout his career. But to do that yesterday in a place that Minnesota was 13-1 on the year, and they had beaten Iowa, Michigan, and I think Ohio State. Did they beat Ohio State in the barn? They beat another big team in the barn, Ohio State or Wisconsin. So to go in there and win a game by 30 where these other teams lost, I think that says a lot. Now, I will say Minnesota was shorthanded, right? With Gabe Kalsher out, and Liam Robbins is just a shell of himself with that ankle injury. But from what I saw stat-wise and the highlights, and I did catch a little bit of it. I didn't watch – this is the first game I haven't watched from start to finish, but that is exactly what they needed, and they looked so impressive on the road, which I think is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, and obviously road games at the Big Ten is always huge. It's a little different this year with the circumstances they are. Mm-hmm. The fact that Illinois I don't want to say it's going to haunt Illinois. Those 2 home losses earlier in the conference schedule, that could come back to hurt them down the stretch here, because they pretty much have to win out to take the regular season title, which obviously isn't the end all be all. You want to win the regular season title, and they certainly still can. There's a lot of, milestones you can still hit between now and the end of March. But those home games that they lost early on were questionable. Mm-hmm. So to win any game on the road definitely makes up for a lot of that, for sure.
Is it one of those things that those home losses are probably good, even though it doesn't look good? But do you think if they would have won those games, they would be playing how they are right now, knowing that they have to climb to get to the top?
I mean, it's hard to say specifically what would have happened. I can see a scenario where they would have lost something else.
Yeah.
Just one of those type of things. I don't know that it's necessarily would have changed anything. Right. They're obviously still playing their best basketball right now. So you just kind of have to keep that momentum up, because as we talked about, these next stretch is definitely going to be tough.
Yeah. And then Michigan and Ohio State play today. Michigan pulls it out late. If Ohio State would have won that, Illinois kind of controls their fate. Yeah. So I think Illinois fans were definitely pulling for Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Michigan. What's your take on Michigan right now, coming off of the long pause? They've won 2 or 3 since they came back. They're pretty deep. I think they're
deep.
I think they're the best team in the Big Ten. I think they're the best team in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I think they are too. It's hard. Obviously, I'm biased, and I watch every Illinois game, and I do not catch as many other conference games. But it's hard for me to think about a team that has the 2 the two weapons that Illinois has isn't the best team in the conference.
Yeah.
But it's Michigan. It is. I mean, they have the depth, they have the talent. Obviously, they've shown it so far. Not to say that Illinois can't beat them. And they'll have at least one opportunity, maybe as many as 3 opportunities here in the next few weeks. So we'll see how that goes. But Michigan's definitely the team to beat in the conference.
Yeah, I agree. They played 9 or 10 guys, I think, and all of them are so good. Dickinson down low is the best freshman in the league by far.
Yeah.
I just don't see many holes. I'm just so happy that they got the Illinois-Michigan game scheduled.
Yeah.
I
wasn't sure if that was going to happen or not.
Yeah, it would have done every Big Ten fan a disjustice if they hadn't played that. And I know Illinois fans were kind of upset that Michigan didn't play it when it was originally scheduled, which kind of makes sense. But I'm just glad we get to see it. Ayo Dosunmu, what else can we say? I mean, another triple-double, 2nd of his career, 4th in Illinois program history. That blows my mind, I will say.
So as you mentioned, you weren't watching that game yesterday, and there was that point late in the game where they're up 30 points, and it's Ayo and Adam Miller and then Tyler Underwood and 2 other guys on the floor. And I'm like, why is Ayo still on the floor? And then as soon as he grabbed that rebound, his 10th rebound, took the ball off the court, as soon as he got to half court, called a timeout and pulled himself out of the game. I'm like, oh, we're going for a triple-double. That's what it is.
Yeah, Brad said that after the game. He said that he left him in there on purpose. And
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I was watching at that point on my phone while I was in the car, not driving, while I was in the car. And I think the broadcasters caught Brad giving Richard Pitino kind of like that's why he was in. I'm not trying to run anything up, because Brad said that him and Richard are pretty tight. So,
and I noticed too at that time, because I pointed out to whoever I was watching the game with, that you could tell Ayo was actually doing some coaching out on the floor with some of those, guys that don't see the floor as much. He kind of was, doing a little bit more than he normally does, just kind of, telling guys where to go and that type of stuff. But as I said, once I saw him get that rebound, I knew exactly why he was still out there in a 30.
Yeah. When he got that first triple-double a couple of weeks ago, I was astonished that was the first one since Sergio McClain.
It's such a, triple-double is such a common thing to hear anymore when you think about like the NBA.
Yes.
I mean, you hear that phrase tossed around all the time with Westbrook and Harden. I mean, that's just like a normal thing. So to think about it, that the fact that Illinois hasn't had one in that long, it's definitely kind of telling, but it just says a lot about Ayo and the player that he is. And he's really good, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just really good.
I mean, when we look back in 5, 10, maybe even next year when he's not here, I mean, it's going to be one of those things that no matter how much we appreciate him right now, I don't think we appreciate him enough, because he completely turned this program around.
Yeah. I was obviously ecstatic when he came back. And I knew that there was a lot of potential there. And I knew that, after the way last season ended, the way as well as they were playing, to get cut short with the pandemic, then going into this season, obviously I knew that there was a lot going into it, but I would not have guessed that he would have put up the numbers that he's done, and to really be in the consideration for not only Conference Player of the Year, but for the National Player of the Year. I don't know that I would have predicted that. I'm super glad we're here. Even just glad that he's in the conversation, but I don't think I saw that coming.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Even people preseason, they were saying he's preseason All-American. I'm like, all right, he's good, but I mean, is he the top 5 player in the country? Like, I don't know, but he hasn't taken a game off. I mean,
no,
I don't have his game log up right now, but when was the last time he scored in single digits? He hasn't scored it in this year.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, and just the things that he does in late game situations, I think that's where he makes his bread, or whatever that saying is now. Is he just, if the ball is in his hands, something good is going to happen. Normally it's him shooting it, getting up some kind of shot, but I think I forgot what game you texted me that there's only a couple guys on the Illinois that you are comfortable.
I think it was Nebraska.
I think you're right. You said there's only
Trent can make a shot, and they struggle at times to get the ball to Kofi, but I mean, he's the only one that I really trust with the ball in his hands, and he hasn't really let us down.
How do teams keep letting him get what he wants?
I don't know. I mean, Northwestern didn't. They let him take a shot from the half court line.
That's true.
It's not like they were, letting him drive. Like,
yeah,
he just heaved it up from 30 feet or whatever it was. So
after Northwestern, I think is when I put that list together that he's hit 21 field goals. I tried to keep it within the last 2 minutes, but there were a couple. I think the Michigan State 3 his freshman year, the one that Dockett said it's not going to end well. It ended well.
I love that highlight. I had forgotten about that until people were tweeting about it again. I went back and watched. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's hit 21 field goals in the final 2-ish minutes of games of Illinois wins. I forgot to put that in the first tweet, but I replied and said those were all in games Illinois won. So he's probably hit more total in games that they didn't win. But just the fact that he continues to do that and teams could let him continue to do that. I mean, he's going to go down as is he a top 3 Illinois player ever?
I mean,
top 5?
He's probably top 5, at least in the conversation right now. Obviously we need to see what happens at the end of the season. It'll be hard to really say that if they go down in flames early.
True.
But right now, I think he's absolutely in that conversation. And I've thought about this throughout this year. It's really tough to think about this season rationally, I think, as a fan.
Yeah.
Because the last really good basketball season that Illinois basketball has had was in 2004, when they lost one game all regular season, ran through the conference tournament, and then made it all the way to the championship game. They lost 2 games all season. And so I think myself and maybe other fans, I don't want to speak for everyone. I'm certainly not going to speak for you, but just gauging it from Twitter and from things that I've seen, I think people just kind of had these expectations that this great Illinois team is going to be just, comparable to that. And that's not really how it's gone. But still, at this point in the year, it's hard to think that they're not in that conversation for one of the best teams in school history.
They got to be, I would think they're top 3 probably, right? I mean, behind 05 and the Flying Illini.
To this point, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Gotta see what they do.
Now, like you said, if they go down in flames in the first or second round, that's gonna tarnish some things. But we're talking about Ayo being a top 5, top 3 player. I think what really will help is that National Player of the Year, which, as much as some people say it's done and it's clinched, I don't know how you can say that.
I don't think it's done. It's not done.
I think the CBS guys said it's Garza's already, no matter what happens. But I don't know how you can say that after what Iowa's done the last 2 months.
I could see that maybe being over, as you said, 2 months ago, or even in the last month. I can maybe see that argument. But the way Iowa has continued to play and push Illinois, even in these games that they, quite frankly, should have lost. Yeah. I'm not going to go out and say that Iowa will win. But I do not think this is a one-man show. Mm-mm. I think it is clearly now Iowa is at least deserving of votes and to be in consideration. His team's better. He's putting up, Luke is putting up great numbers. But what Iowa is doing, putting that team on his back, there's still a lot to play. We've already talked about it. Illinois has a tough stretch ahead. So I'm not ready to start, counting my chickens yet. But I have a hard time saying that this is Luca's award and nobody else is even in the conversation. I don't buy it.
I think that's where how much do the voters put stock in team success? Because Iowa, they're playing okay.
Yeah, but they're not bad.
They're not living up to their expectations.
No.
At all. They don't guard anybody.
No.
And they can be beat because of that. They can be beat any night.
Yeah.
Now, Garza is averaging 24.7 at 8.4, shooting 53% from the field. He had a good game today against Penn State, 23 and 11. Now you got Ayo with 21.2 points, 6.2 rebounds, 5.3 assists, all these clutch moments, almost 50% from the field. So not that much worse than Garza from the field. I mean, I just don't see how it's over. Ayo is the best all-around player in college basketball, in my opinion.
You should submit all of your research to all the voters.
I don't even know who the voters are. That's the issue. I don't know who votes on the Naismith Player of the Year. Is it the media? Is it a panel? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I know fans have a part because I see all these Illinois fans tweeting I voted for Ayo Dosunmu for Player of the Year. So that's a part of it. I just think that I don't know if there's an argument against him being the best player in college basketball all around. Garza is a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's going to go down as a college basketball legend. That's especially at Iowa. He broke the Iowa scoring record today.
Yeah.
In that win against Penn State. So he's probably the best big in the nation. But
yeah, absolutely.
Ayo is all around the best player, and I don't see an argument against it. No, there's so many facets of his game.
I don't think there is an argument. I think anybody that's telling you that there is hasn't watched any Illinois basketball in the last month or two. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think it's an open and shut case like it was in, before the season started or even before the conference season started. It's not. So is Lucas still probably going to win the award? Yeah, probably he will, but I don't think it's a one-man race.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see Iowa falling off. They got 3 games this week. Let's see what we got. We got a couple rescheduled, or one rescheduled at Michigan State on Tuesday, Thursday against Nebraska. And it looks like Saturday, a big one on the road at Wisconsin. 3 winnable games. Wisconsin is not living up to expectations either. So I think 3 more W's. What do you want to see this week coming off Minnesota from Illinois?
Well, Michigan State's not great. But I think the big thing for Illinois is just to keep limiting what you put me on the spot. And now I don't know what the easy answer to that question is.
I think you need a 3-0 week.
I think you have to have a 3-0 week because I think that you're going to struggle with Michigan and Ohio State. As I've said, at this point, Illinois is in the tournament. I don't know that they're going to win the Big Ten title, the regular season title. I think at this point you're playing for seeding. So you need to beat Michigan State, and you cannot lose at home to Nebraska. So yeah, I would love to see them go 3-0 before they go into that final 2. I think that you have to do that. As I said, you're just playing for seeding at this point, and playing for seeding in the conference tournament and playing for seeding in the national tournament. And both of those are going to be huge when it comes down to it. I would love to see Illinois I'd love to see them as a 1 seed, but if they can stay on the 2 line, I mean, that'd be fantastic.
So the big thing for me going into the NCAA tournament is avoiding Baylor and Gonzaga. I think Illinois is on the 2 line. Unless they win the Big Ten tournament, maybe they jump up to the 1, but I think they're the 2 or the 3. And I think Gonzaga and Baylor are head, shoulders, knees, and toes above everyone else in college basketball. So I think that's going to be the big, not issue. What am I working for?
Hurdle.
There we go. Hurdle. That's the biggest hurdle in the NCAA tournament for Illinois to get to the Final 4. If they're in a Baylor or a Gonzaga quad, I don't see it. But it's the NCAA tournament. We see a lot of crazy things. But that's what I think needs to happen for Illinois to make it to, I was going to say to make it to Indianapolis, but everything's in Indianapolis. So that's what I'm looking at. I think if they need to win the Big Ten tournament, probably to get to the 1 line and avoid those 2 powerhouses.
I think this Illinois team is capable of beating just about any team in the country on any given day. Mm-hmm. The just about would be Gonzaga and Baylor. I mean, is it possible? Sure. I mean, they played with Baylor for the first 2/3, 3/4 of that game.
Yep.
But I mean, when it comes down to it, are they going to beat them again if they played again? I don't know. Probably not. But you're right. I think that's kind of the goal for any team in the country, to not be in their quadrant. But yeah, I mean, obviously Illinois has one of the best players in the country and one of the best big men in the country. And they have if the supporting cast is, if Trent's making shots, they can beat anybody outside of maybe those two. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'll be shocked if the championship game this year is anybody but Gonzaga and Baylor. I would love to see Illinois playing there, but at this point, I'm just excited to see them, make a run, and let's just see how far they can go.
It's exciting.
Hopefully they play well enough so that Ayo doesn't have to save them down the stretch, although that obviously will be fun. But there's
a couple of Ayo NCAA tournament moments I think they're coming. I think they're coming. And I think
absolutely.
People are really going to appreciate him even more when that happens, because I think they are. I think this week, I think you need a Minnesota-like game on Thursday against Nebraska. Don't let them hang around like they did in Lincoln. No. You got to blow their doors off. I'd like to see one against Michigan State, but I think they're playing better. I think they won a big game, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, Indiana.
Against Indiana. So they're playing better. Just get a win there. But I need another blowout on Thursday against Nebraska, and then go up to Madison and do what you can. I think you need a W, but I think a 3-0 week would go a long way for this team, because who knows what comes next week with those two powerhouses.
Wisconsin's winnable.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, the other two are obviously winnable too. I'm not going to say that they aren't, but Wisconsin's definitely a winnable game.
Yeah.
They played with Ohio State in Champaign, so. I don't think that there's a clear favorite in that game either.
I don't want to call Ohio State overrated, because I think they are really good, but I don't think they're the number 4 team in the country. And I've thought that all year. I mean, they got Liddell and they got pieces. Holtman is a great coach.
Yeah.
I love what he does with the program. And I think overrated is a strong word, because they are really good, but I definitely think Illinois, when playing right, is the better team. So I think that's a winnable game. And they've played well in Columbus. I mean, last year, 2 years ago, I think, Ayo went there and hit a couple threes like he did in Michigan State. So it should be good. Exciting times. I've told you a couple times this season, it's weird being on this side of it, not covering it. My heart rate spikes every game, but it's fun. It's fun to be a fan of a good team again. So
it's been a while.
It has. It's been so long. Before we move on, are you wearing a Hamilton shirt?
Just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry.
I love it. Love it.
Just for you.
Moving on. Thank you. I appreciate that.
How did you know you could just see this part?
I just saw like my country. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was maybe like a country music thing at first, but then I was like, no.
Nope.
I like it.
I got this when I saw Hamilton in Chicago a few summers ago with my parents.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it.
Just for you.
Let's move on to baseball. Not much going on, but it's pitchers and catchers reported. A couple team workouts this week. You excited? I'm pumped.
I am excited. I don't have Nolan Arenado to be happy about. I think the Central Division is going to be competitive. So we'll put it that way. But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. Baseball season obviously always gets me excited. Mm-hmm. On paper, as a Cubs fan, I think that there's still enough there that, they can make it happen. So, but just the thought of warmer things makes this, cold temperatures and all the snow on the ground make me feel a little happier. So
yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Bring on spring training.
For sure. This weather this week, I think both of us, I don't know what South Bend, Indiana got, but ours has been brutal. I shoveled my driveway 3 different times. Should have just waited and did it all at once, but I was trying to make the work later easier by doing it a couple times. It didn't work, but baseball means spring training means that warm weather's coming. I hope we can go to some games eventually this year. But we'll see. That's that's unimportant. We got to take care of this virus first before that happens.
Right.
I want to play a game here. I didn't prep you for this, but it just popped in my head.
Oh, great.
I want you to evaluate the Cardinals, and then I'll evaluate the Cubs off season.
Oh, well, okay, that's fair. So we can do that.
Obviously, the Cardinals add Arenado.
Uh-huh.
They bring Waino. They bring Molina back. No real other big moves. So, how what's your outlook on the Cardinals this season? Big picture. Well, obviously, we're the first week of spring training here. There's a lot of questions.
The very first thing that you didn't even mention, I don't understand why they didn't bring back Colton Wong.
Oh yeah.
And then why the Cubs didn't sign Colton Wong, I didn't understand that either. So that was the first thing. Arenado move is huge. I don't even want to get into the financials of it because that just like blows my mind. They obviously, as I said, that division is going to be competitive regardless. So you bring in one of the best bats in baseball to any offense, and it's going to help. The Cardinals, up to that point, I hadn't really done much, but just like the rest of the division, didn't really seem like they wanted to compete. And then all of a sudden they said, okay, we're going to play. So good for them, bringing back Waino and Molina, legacy pieces. Those, I was happy to see Molina got the money that he did because there were, people were saying, oh, he could end up with the Cubs and he'd be getting paid a lot less. But good for him, man. I mean, the Cardinals owe him the money. We can talk another conversation about the whole, Molina Hall of Fame discussion, but
it'll come up, I'm sure.
But no, that good for him, man. That's as I said, I don't know that anybody in the division had a great offseason.
Yeah.
But obviously the Cardinals bringing in Nolan Arenado, that's about as big as you can get. So
yeah, I think that gives them the best. Not saying that overall it was great, but I think that's the best.
Brewers it's enough to put them over the top.
Yeah, I mean, Wong staying in the division with the Brewers, that's a good get for them. Move Hira over the first. I don't know who their first baseman was last year. Was it Justin Smoke?
It might have been. I don't remember.
But that's a good bat. That's a good defensive piece. I agree with you. For the money he signed with Milwaukee, I don't know why the Cardinals didn't bring him back, but they were happy with Edman at second, so give him a shot. Yeah, I'm not sure.
There were some weird decisions made with arbitration this year, and a lot of that obviously had to do with the pandemic.
Yep.
And that's the Cubs not bringing back Kyle Schwarber was questionable, but when it came down to it, they ended up getting Jock Peterson and Trevor Williams for less than they would have paid Kyle Schwarber. So whatever. But I mean, the Wong thing baffled me, but I'm sure there was some sort of financial reasoning to it, and whatever.
Yeah, I think he was just the easy piece to get rid of because Carpenter's locked down with he's got this year, and then there's a vesting option that I don't think he's going to reach, so he'll be off the books. But I think he was just the easiest, most expendable piece to get rid of. Cubs offseason confuses me as with anyone.
Join the club.
Yeah, I mean, even from the outside, the inside, I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense what they've done since winning the World Series. You did mention a good thing, though, or an interesting thing with Schwarber costing just as much as Peterson plus a pitcher, which is what they need. Right. And Peterson and Schwarber are the same player.
Comparable.
In my eyes.
They're very comparable.
So I
think Peterson hits for average a little better. I think he makes better contact, and he's probably a better defensive left fielder. Schwarber takes a lot of crap for his defense, but he's a salvageable outfielder.
Yeah, he makes some great plays.
So I like Jock. He's an exciting player. I've always liked watching him play. So you probably want to talk about the Darvish thing, which is probably the biggest. Yeah. If you want to compete, why do you get rid of your best pitcher?
Exactly.
It was obviously money. They got rid of his contract. They got another starting pitcher in his place. They got a bunch of prospects. I don't know. I think I could definitely see a scenario where come the trade deadline, the offense is clicking on all cylinders because there's a lot of talent there in that lineup.
Yeah.
But you could potentially miss, a potential Cy Young candidate type of pitcher like Darvish was last year. So it's possible that's not how it works out. I like to trust people that I think are smarter than me.
No one's smarter than you, Logan.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are. But yeah, the Darvish thing was obviously confusing. But as I said, I think a lot of decisions were made for money.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a hard time letting the fact that the Cubs are trying to play poor.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No, does not.
Third biggest city in the country. They have their own mini downtown area that they play in, that they run. They have their own TV network. I don't understand why they continue to do this. I mean, the easy answer to that is because they have players they have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that you have some big contracts that are coming up here that you got to take care of. But they have yet to really even take care of those players. So
yeah.
I don't know. I really think the Cubs, I think Jed Hoyer is just really going to wait to see how the first half of the season plays out. And if they're in the hunt, then they'll see what they can do. Because I think the division is very competitive, but the division is winnable. I mean, there's no Dodgers or Padres for that matter.
Yeah. Or Braves or Mets.
Or exactly. So but I think you can also go the other way, and they get to the All-Star break and they're struggling, and that's when you start dealing some guys and see how it works. So
yeah, I think they have the best lineup in the division.
I think they do as well.
The best 1 through 8 lineup. I mean, Rizzo, Baez, even the enigma of Chris Bryant. What is Chris Bryant? I still think he's a quality third baseman. Jason Hayward is what he is. I mean, they've got bats. They just don't have any pitching. Who's gonna get their innings?
Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah, he's their only reliable of the 5.
Zach Davies, who they brought in from the Padres.
What did you text me the other day about their average?
Nobody's going to hit 95 on the gun. Nobody hit 93 on the gun. It's going to be awful between Hendricks, Davies, and Alec Mills, who's likely going to be one of the 5 starters. It's going to be rough. Trevor Williams he can throw. And it's probably going to be Adbert Alzolay in one of those spots. So I don't know what they'll do, but as we've said, the division is winnable. They keep adding bullpen pieces that could help.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in Brandon Workman, and they brought in I don't remember who whatever else they've done, but we'll see. I think it's definitely possible, but it could go one of 2 ways, and I won't be shocked either way.
I think the pitching aspect we just talked about is what puts the Cardinals a little on top of the division, because you do have a bona fide ace in Jack Flaherty.
Right.
Waino, although 39, 40, whatever he is, years old, he had a great year last year. Anytime you got him and Yachty behind the plate, I think you got at least a chance to get some 5 or 6 quality innings. Well, other than that, I think the Cardinals pitching is also a question mark. Carlos Martinez, who knows what you're going to get with him. Kim, I think he's in the rotation as of right now. Didn't see enough from him to quantify being confident in him on the mound. And then the 5th spot, Michaelis is coming off injury. I don't even know if he's going to be ready for the start of the year. So, yeah. I mean, I think the Cardinals are in very similar spot, except for they do have that ace in Flaherty, which I think gives them a little bit of an edge as far as the division goes.
No, I agree.
But it's not a big edge by any means.
No, it's not. And Kyle Hendricks is an ace. He's just he's not Flaherty, but I mean he's a control guy. He's not he's Greg Maddux, compared to Randy Johnson type thing. So plus forgot to mention Jake Arrieta. This is not
Are you getting 2015 or are you getting
this is not 2016. This is we're in 2021. So
was it 16 he won the Cy Young, the year they won the World Series?
It was
I thought it was 15.
It was 15 because he had a really good second half of 15 and first half of 16. So yeah, I'm glad that he's coming back. Hopefully they can get something out of him.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking of the Cubs, I was kind of baffled they didn't give Lester the money he wanted, because they could have brought him back. But
you think that was because Theo's not there? Him and Theo were.
I could have something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I think the Cardinals have the advantage in the rotation. But we'll see. A lot of baseball to be played. I'm just glad that we're going to have it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's something always to be excited about when teams report and you start seeing the social media stuff and the coverage from the hot places of Phoenix and Florida. And it's right around the corner. I'm excited. I think it could be a good year, especially if we get all 162 in. But who's the favorite for the World Series right now? Dodgers? Padres?
I would still have to say the Dodgers. I think they have the advantage in that division after getting
Bauer.
Trevor Bauer. I mean, that Padres rotation is sick, man. But you add Trevor Bauer to that what the Dodgers had, and I mean they're back. They're the favorite for at least for the National League.
Yep.
American League.
It's wide open in my eyes.
Wide open. I mean, it's probably the Yankees, but I really just want to see Mike Trout get the chance to play in a World Series. I hope they can get him there, and they've made the moves, obviously bringing in Rendon and everything, and we'll see what happens with Ohtani, but I would love to see him get to that point, but
I don't think they have the pitching. I mean, I don't even know
if they don't have the pitching.
I don't know if I can name one of their starters. Dylan Bundy, maybe? Griffin Canning. Okay, there's two. Did Jose Quintana go there?
Yes.
Okay, so three, but those are three average, if not below average starters. I mean, I don't know. I agree with you. I mean, Trout's the best player in baseball. He needs to be at least in the postseason, and the Angels aren't doing anything to help him out. I don't know. They need. Was it last year that Cole went to the Yankees and everyone thought he's going to LA?
Yep.
I mean, they need to get an arm, but it's gonna be fun. Let's see it play out, and let's get to what I know you want to talk about.
Hey man, I'm just here. I'm here for whatever you want to throw at me.
So I guess this is the first episode for us. So give people a background where this passion for movies and TV and film for you came from.
Oh man. Well, to be honest with you, I partially blame my father, who in 2012 told me, well, my dad is a big book, he reads a lot, and he always does, at the end of the year, he always, picks like what his favorite books were and that type of stuff. So he's like, you should do this for movies. Cause at the time I kind of started, seeing more movies and stuff. It really wasn't what it is now. I'm still trying to like catch up on, movies from like before 2010. There's a lot of like classic movies out there that like I should have seen that I haven't. But if it's a new movie that came out since about 2012, 2013, I've probably seen it. So, but yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what's been my hobby away from baseball. It's been, going to movies, and especially with, the Marvel movies have, kind of really culminated during this whole span. And so kind of been a lot of it. So that's my thing.
So pre-pandemic, how many times would you go to a movie theater in a year?
Oh, enough to make my bottomless popcorn bucket worth it.
That is your favorite thing ever.
I was so pissed. Well, I mean, it was definitely over 50.
Yeah.
The last couple of years. I mean, it helps just because my schedule with baseball, and I had, the off season and everything. And, but yeah, I was definitely going to a movie theater. I think last year I probably saw in total close to like 80 movies. And I'd say probably around 50 of them are probably in a theater. So, and obviously this year that's not been the case. So
yeah, when you say last year, you talk 2019, right?
2019.
Yeah.
Not 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So with everything that's happened this year, how has the movie industry changed? Or do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about something that's came out, or?
No, I mean, I think it's interesting. I was kind of surprised how well it's obviously changed, and it was changing before the pandemic.
Yes.
I think there was already, talks that movie theaters dying, was already kind of a discussion that was starting to build prior to 2020. But now that's definitely really shifted. we, 2020, we still got good movies. We didn't get a lot of the big blockbuster franchise movies. We didn't get the Marvel movies. We didn't get a lot of the big releases like that, the A Quiet Place and Top Gun and like those big movies that were supposed to, come out, obviously didn't. The James Bond movie. So a lot of that stuff did change, and I think theaters will be fine when it's all said and done, but the longer we wait, I think I really think Marvel is going to be a big impact here with what they do with their Black Widow movie, because I think that's really going to be other studios have gone other ways. Like Warner Brothers tried to release Tenet during the summer, and that didn't really work for them. And Warner Brothers is now trying their whole split release with HBO Max and theaters, and Disney's just like refusing to do that. Well, they're going to do it with their animated movie. But I think what they do with Black Widow will really tell us when things are a little closer to normal.
Yeah.
But we're still a ways away from figuring that out, I think.
Have you gone to a movie in a theater since pandemic?
Yes. I went to see Tenet when it came out.
Okay.
There was about 6 people in my theater. Since then, the last few weeks, I have gone to see a couple. I've been in by myself in an empty theater, which I was doing that sometimes anyway. But yeah, I have made it to a couple, because now they're doing that. They're releasing them. What are being released are either on a streaming service, so they're already on Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus or HBO, whatever, or they're going to on demand, where you can pay $20 to rent it. Or I'm fortunate enough, I guess, to live in a place that I can go to a movie theater and pay $6 to $7 to go watch a movie. So, but yeah, I have been able to go a couple times. I did not take my popcorn bucket. They're not refilling it. So that's what everybody wants to know.
Do they have concession stands though? Can you get?
Yeah, you can get concessions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But now they've done it, at least the theater here. I can pre-order my snacks and pick them up when I get there. So,
interesting. Yeah.
So.
Okay. I agree with you. I think the movie theaters will be back. I think that, along with a lot of things, though, it's going to be weird.
It's going to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things are going to be different. Anything that requires anything that's a big public gathering is going to be different.
Yep.
I think the movie theater experience is going to be different. I think sports are going to be different.
Yep.
Concerts are going to be different. But
it's going to take years for us to get back to normal, or what was our old normal.
Yeah.
So do you want to call me out on my WandaVision text, or do you want me to admit to it?
No, you can admit to it. I don't care.
Because you subtweeted me on Twitter.
I did. And so here's the thing. Here's the problem I have. Okay.
Should I say what it is first?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell the people. Tell the people your problem.
Me and Logan have been talking about doing this podcast for a while, and he said, you got to watch WandaVision before we do this, because I'm going to want to talk about it. And I said, I don't have it pulled up, but I said something to the effect of, Wanda's not my favorite MCU character. And Logan
what?
flipped.
That's not an excuse. Like, okay, here's my thing. Like, I can understand not watching the show if you're just not a fan of the movies. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to tell somebody that doesn't like Marvel movies that they need to watch WandaVision. But I know for a fact that you do. In fact, I know that you're going through all the movies right now and watching them in your spare time. So, like, when you told me that not only had you not started the show, I thought, had your reasoning been something along the lines of, I'm waiting for it all to come out and then watching it once, or had your reason been, I want to watch all the movies again first and then I'll watch it, I would have accepted those answers. But you said, Wanda's not one of my favorite characters. She's not anybody's favorite character. She had like 10 seconds of screen time in 3 movies.
Right. Right. I guess maybe I didn't word it right. Maybe I should have said, I don't know enough about Wanda to be interested in WandaVision, but I'm happy to tell you I am 4 episodes in.
And
episode 3 really piqued my interest, the end.
Yep.
And then I just watched episode 4 right before we started recording. and that one's got me hooked. I'm very interested to see where this goes. The first 2 episodes, I was like, "What am I watching?"
And
It made no sense.
So for the rest of the world that watched it when it came out, episodes 1 and 2 got released at the same time. So we all, when I say we all, I said the collective, all of us people that are watching it got up on their Friday or watched it on their Friday. They watched the first 2 episodes, and everybody didn't have that third episode to go to, and they're all like, "What is this? Like, why are we watching this? Why am I supposed to be invested into a 50s sitcom?" I mean, obviously, we knew they were supposed to be progressing through, decades and everything, so there was going to be something to it. But we're like, why? What's happening here? It really does take until episode 4 to really understand.
Yep.
Oh, this is a Marvel property. This is how this fits in. So,
yeah. And what we were talking about tonight while we were watching it was, we're just so baffled about how Marvel continues to interweave all these different characters and all these different timelines and stories, and it still all makes sense. That just it blows my mind, because there's so many different.
We're talking now 23 movies, a TV show, plus more movies and TV shows on the way. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's absolutely blows my mind, and that's some of the best, I guess you call it, writing that I've ever seen.
It is. I mean, and as I've said, I can understand the people that, it's not their thing. I'm not saying it needs to be everybody's thing. But it's just, you have to appreciate what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to have that many stories, that many characters, the way they're able to tie all these stories into each other and bring in these characters from other movies into TV shows and everything. It's really great what they're doing. And I think it's been nice as a fan to have this now that we've gone a full year, more than a year, without an actual movie release from the studio. So to finally be able to see some of this stuff again and see some of these characters has definitely been refreshing.
Yeah. I know we got Black Widow on the way. There's this whole other maybe eventually at some point. And there's this whole other next level that they're taking this after Endgame and all of that. And these are a bunch of characters that, like we were saying with Wanda, aren't the most popular characters. They've already gone through with the Iron Mans and the Captain America, Chris Evans, Captain America, and all of that.
Right.
So do you think that this is a continued success thing, or do you think there's going to be a decline because these aren't the high profile characters?
I think it'll be a continued success. I do think there probably was a group of people out there in the world that after Endgame decided, okay, that was great. I'm calling that the ending. I am done.
Mm-hmm.
I think those people exist. And it's not their fault, but just the way the world has changed the last year will probably hurt them, but it might help them. I mean, it's possible that if Black Widow comes out at the right time, that people could flock to the theaters again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the case. But the fact that they have Disney Plus now in their arsenal, Disney really went all in on that streaming service a few years ago. I remember thinking back to 2019, because their movie lineup in 2019 was, you had Endgame, you had the Lion King remake, you had Toy Story 4, you had Frozen 2, you had just bang, Star Wars. You had all these huge properties. And then later that year, they launched the streaming service. So that was huge for them to build that up. And now that you have that, exactly. I mean, they're just raking in the money. So obviously they want the box office numbers. They want the box office money, and they'll get that eventually. But I think we're going to see a different sort of, we used to be able to tell by the box office numbers how well a movie did, but anymore, that's not necessarily going to be the case. It's going to be a matter of, they're going to know how many people are watching their service. They're probably not going to tell us. But I think they'll keep going for a while. I don't think there's any stopping this now.
Yeah, it's taken off and it's got a life of its own for sure. I will promise you by next week, I will be caught up on WandaVision.
That's great.
And we can break it down more than this week. because I don't want you to give any spoilers while
I will not be giving any
here.
spoilers. That is fine.
But it definitely, I agree with Logan. Once you get past episode 3, episode 4, it really, and he even texted me that he's like, it's all about to come together. And
if you're watching the show, I've heard this. It's not common, but I have heard this, that people have stopped during or after episode 2.
Yeah,
like,
don't.
No, like you can't. Like if you are interested in what's happening, you have to keep going to episode 4.
Episode 4
everything comes together.
Yep, everything comes together, and it kind of leaves you. You don't really progress in the timeline,
no,
per se, but everything comes together, and then it kind of leaves it where you're like, all right, well, what happened? And then you got to move on to 5, and it'll come together. So I'm hooked. I'm excited. I'm watching it with my girlfriend, so I can't go too far by myself.
I'll try to. Okay, let me ask you this. And maybe you're not on Marvel Twitter. Maybe you're like only on sports Twitter.
Yeah, pretty much.
I feel like I'm pretty deep into movie Twitter and sports Twitter.
Yeah.
So like, how do you you just haven't seen anything? Am I the only person that you see tweets about WandaVision?
Yeah, I've not seen any spoilers. I haven't seen. I mean, I've seen people reacting like,
okay,
I'm ready for the next episode of WandaVision, but yeah, I'm not in Marvel Twitter or movie Twitter. So
that's my issue.
I'm going in blind.
That's my issue. I get up in the morning. I mean, I have the luxury now of working from home, and so I get up early enough on Friday mornings. I don't even look at my phone. Usually I look at my phone first thing in the morning to see, what post-game reaction you had that you sent me like 3 hours after the game or whatever the case may be. But I don't even look at my phone in the morning on Fridays. Because I know there are people out there that ruin things,
yeah,
and it's awful. So I just was curious if you were just able to avoid that. So good for you. Congratulations that you've been able to do that.
So. I haven't seen anything. So next Sunday, we're going to try and do these every Sunday, I think, is what we kind of agreed on about the same time. So we'll record about 7 or 8 on Sunday night. And then we'll recap everything. So next Sunday, I'll try and be caught up. I'm 99.999% sure I'll be caught up, and we can talk about that as well as anything else.
Where are you at in your movie rewatch?
This took precedent.
Okay.
Because we're doing that together as well. So this
Where
took
were
precedent. You? We finished the first Captain America. We're watching them we're not watching them release. We're watching them chronologically. We watched the first Captain America, and we had actually just by happenstance just watched Captain Marvel like a week prior. So we're going to skip over that and go to the next one, which I can't remember what it is.
Iron Man's next. But it's good that you watched Captain Marvel.
Yeah. Totally.
Because there's obviously ties into this. So
yeah. And that helped us a lot with episode 4 of Wanda. So next Sunday we'll be caught up and we'll review that. We got 3 Illinois games. We'll be able to review and look ahead to the 2 big matchups on the road to end the season, and we'll try and get these out. We'll record them Sunday night, probably release them Monday morning. So
it sounds great to me. I don't know about the people out there, how they're going to feel about listening to us talk for an hour, but
no one asked us to do this. So,
nope.
So we'll get the 2 listens from our parents, and
exactly,
and then we'll move on. But I think this was a good first one. We only had one little technical thing. We'll see if you guys can pick up on it in the edited version. But I think we'll be good. So anything else, Logan?
I think that's it for now.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.